Hey guys, we actually have some news in the world of Dragon Ball Super, and many of you are not gonna like it. But it essentially deals with the future of the Dragon Ball Super manga as of now. So, a few days ago, it was revealed that Toyotaro would be doing a one shot outside of the Dragon Ball franchise, where Hype said it seems that the latest reports were true. Toyotaro has announced that his new manga project, Lost Samurai, is a one shot. And of course, it's already out on on the VJump website. But anyway, continuing on. Apparently, fan or at least someone in the community ran into Victory Uchida, who is the editor of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and even managed to talk to him for a few minutes at the minimum. But apparently it says, Major Dragon Ball Super news. I ran into Victory Uchida and was able to talk with him for a few minutes. He confirmed to me multiple times very clearly that the Dragon Ball Super manga will not return in 2025 and that he asked fans to be patient. Thanks to him for taking the time to answer my questions. So, there you have it. Now, if you're part of the crowd that feels that because this isn't in writing or because it's just a regular person and not someone who is an influencer or someone who's like big in the community, then I guess one person could argue that, this could be a lie or this doesn't really mean anything. But honestly, I feel like that's just cope. I mean, the signs are kind of right there. Toyotaro is working on the manga. Shueisha isn't approving of any manga related stuff for now officially. And Dragon Ball currently seems to be in a rut outside of the video games for now. He does ask fans to be patient, so at least that's hopeful for those who still want to expect an upcoming manga, but I think there have kind of been like a few camps that have come from this whole news. And kind of just from the whole information and the whole thing with Akira Toriyama. So first of all, obviously there's going to be a part of the fandom that thinks that without Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball is dead because obviously he passed away, and without Akira Toriyama, he's the main big guy in all of this. No one else, no Shueisha, not Shueisha, no Toei Animation, staff, Toyotaro, etc. is ever gonna hold a candle to Akira Toriyama, and there are people who feel that, and honestly, I don't blame them. The people who feel that the original things by Akira Toriyama are canon, whether it's by him or approved by him or supervised by him. That is the original canon. Anything beyond that is filler, according to them. And then there's like another group that wants, hey, we want our Dragon Ball Super manga. We want it like this. We want XXY. Okay, Toyotaro is the main person now. He can't go to Toriyama for supervision or questions or anything like that. Okay, but still, we can do the Dragon Ball Super manga. We can still finish it off with Black Frieza or any other villain. And it kind of goes into that weird situation. Regardless, I think it's pretty undeniable that Dragon Ball Super in general, or even the Dragon Ball franchise, is in a rut outside of the video games, which I believe I just said earlier, but let me kind of expand onto this. There's no Dragon Ball Super anime. There hasn't been for years. People speculated and tried to confirm that it would be, and it didn't turn out to be true. Where do you think that it's because of internal changes or whatever? It's a different story, but the fact of the matter is, there's no Dragon Ball Super anime. Dragon Ball Daima, we don't know if they're even going to do a season 2. The thing, from what I'm aware of, as limited as it may be, is the fact that Akira Toriyama played a huge part in Dragon Ball Daima. So, a season 2 with Dragon Ball Daima is going to be done with completely different writers who aren't going to understand his vision for what he wanted, and we don't even know if he envisioned for us to continue Dragon Ball Daima. So it's one of those things where it could be good, like Akio Iyoko or whoever, they could hypothetically do a Dragon Ball Daima season 2, but will it be good? I don't know, because it's not supervised or made, or it doesn't have the original creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, in the mix. I think a lot of us, at least several months ago, kind of foresaw this, or at least knew that the end was coming in terms of, or at least, even if not the end, then at least a big hiatus. If you were part of the Dragon Ball community years ago, or at least I don't know if half of my audience is, but there was a time where Dragon Ball Super was in a complete and utter rut before Akira Toriyama came back with Battle of Gods and etc. You know, we had the Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2, which didn't do good in sales, and then it did Ultimate Tenkaichi, and you started having bad games and mediocre games, and the Dragon Ball was in a bad state during that time in the video games, and of course, with no ongoing anime or manga, then there was nothing to capitalize on. I definitely think that we're going to be in that situation for a very long time. With the death of Akira Toriyama, there's not really much confidence except for, I guess, Toyotaro and the Dragon Ball Super manga. A few days ago, Toyotaro was asked if he could continue the story without Toriyama, and the answer is yes. Since the beginning, he'd write the story and then send it to Toriyama for approval. Toriyama also sent him his own stories, and Toyotaro would interpret them and send them back to approval. As such, part owner, he said continuing without Toriyama would not be easy but not impossible, but he does not decide. Ask Shueisha/Toei/ the company in charge of the estate. I mean, the thing is, though, to be fair, Toyotaro was the one who did the Moro arc, and as far as I know, had a huge part in the Granolah arc, and Toriyama, as far as I'm aware of at this time, didn't play the biggest part in those arcs. So it makes sense. The Moro arc was at least decent in my viewpoint. I think it was probably one of the better Dragon Ball Super manga stories compared to how the Dragon Ball Super manga originally did not the Goku Black arc, but the Tournament of Power arc. Either way, Dragon Ball Super is in a rut. It could be announced to come out in 2026 or even 2027, but we don't really know. Anything is just speculation at this point. We can speculate all we want, but the fact of the matter is, there's no Dragon Ball Super manga, and there won't be for a long time. As per Toyotaro's message, he says Dragon Ball is the #1 manga in the world. I don't think Dragon Ball should end. I'm not alone in working on it. It's the strength of the fans around the world that allows his work to continue. As a manga artist, I would like in the future to continue evolving and always improve, to have multiple approaches to create funnier manga, to improve my drawing and storytelling skills. That's my goal. So to me, as of this moment, at least in the current time, Toyotaro is not in the burnout phase. He would like to continue Dragon Ball Super manga, but he doesn't really have the authority to do so. Especially with the whole Shueisha stuff. Yeah, that's Shueisha. They're really... ugh. Oh boy. Anyway, that's it for now. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know what you thought about this, and I'll see you guys next time.